Well, what's happening, everybody? Hopefully, you are doing well, and it is a beautiful day here in Michigan on this Thursday. Hey, how's it going? I am BirdDog John. Hopefully, you're doing well. I'm going to jump over to YouTube here. Just make sure you can hear me. I can hear myself, so that is good news. I'm also dropping frames. I'm well aware of that. I don't know why, but we will try and figure out, come to some sort of realization as to what is going on there with that, and we'll get that sorted out. Probably a bandwidth issue here with vmix because I've got so many sources now being fed into that vmix behemoth that has kind of snuck up on us as I've been kind of transitioning over to this machine. A couple things I want to talk about today, but first and foremost, we are working on this Pocky fiery chili something or other. So that's going to be our snacks on stream today in a little bit. I'm going to drink my coffee to begin because I'm only halfway through that. I have been busy this morning working on a whole bunch of stuff. So, which I will gladly talk to you about. As you see, my studio is slowly evolving into something way more than it ever has been before. And I just realized my hair light's not on. So let's go ahead and get that up and running. All right, that might explain why I was fading into the background there for the time being. So, got that fixed and sorted. Just I ran in here about 10 minutes ago and realized, oh man, I drank half a thing of coffee. That's going to be a problem, and wasn't set up at all for the show. And then evidently, I didn't turn on all the lights. So, most of the lights are actually on a cyber power switch that's here at the desk. It's actually a rack mountable unit, which I should get a small like rack mount here for the office. But anyways, but you just flip a switch and like 80% of the lights come on. And I should get the rest of them on there. But all the RGB stuff comes on now without having to configure or go into the app or anything like that. You just flip a switch and it all comes on. So it's beautiful that way. Oh, there's the secondary shot. So or third, I guess that's the third shot. But anyways, so my nice blue wall here. I'm taking votes on what color that should be. And so blue and green seem to be my current vibe, and that goes back that's a hail back all the way back to the original days when my overlays used to look like this. Remember this? And so green and blue has kind of always been my color, and that was a freebie thing that I found on Twitch ages ago, and it just kind of always stuck. And now my starting screen is this instead, which is the BirdDog colors. But my studio is green and blue, and so I'm taking requests on what color that wall should be. And right now, it's kind of a mix right between the green and blue, and so it's the thing that brings the whole room together, as far as I'm concerned. So if you have suggestions, feel free. Yeah, today is a high of 74 to low of 41 here in Michigan, and that's true. It's starting to head off to those extremes. Of course, the warm weather is not going to hang around forever, but there it is. So. What's going on, Brayton? Good to see you, man. Thanks for jumping on today. Yeah, today, today's Auburn Hills, Michigan weather is brought to you by these chips. And yes, today is the day. Celsius. I forget what it was that I was going to do this the other day. Drink this Celsius and give this brand a second chance, because the first one I had was questionable at best. I did not enjoy it. And so I've been told the orange is better than the previous one, and so we're going to go with that. Now my ear is like pulling. It's so weird. So we're going to shorten that up a little bit. It actually has a clip. Yeah, that's much better. Has a little clip, which I don't use. But yeah, all good. So thanks for jumping on, Brayton. If you're here in the chat, if you're over on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, I think even Facebook will send some of your information through. The best place to do this, of course, is just to head on over to birddogjohn.tv. That's where I put everything that I do, which is mostly this show right now, but everything I do, I put up there from a support side. And we're trying to grow that audience a little bit, that subscriber base, just because once we get to a certain level, we'll be able to have our own name and do a bunch of things. But when I'm like at trade shows, there's a birddogjohn.tv/IG is the Instagram account that I use for this function. So when I'm at trade shows or I'm traveling for the company or whatever, I post stuff up there. Most recently, I went to Melbourne, which was back in August, and I had posted stuff about my travels there. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, jump over there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the big one right now. And also head on over to the /IG and you'll be able to follow along when I'm not in the office, when I don't have my beautiful studio to talk to you through. So yeah, cool stuff. So we've got a little snacks on stream planned for today. I also have a topic that I want to cover with you, which I'm hoping for some good feedback from our general community. So please stay tuned for that, and we'll cover that in just a couple of minutes. But first, we want to, of course, be sure that we open the show correctly, which, of course, I definitely, again, it's been a giant scramble. So let's go ahead and do this first, and then we'll get into the show. What's going on, everybody? I am BirdDog John. Thanks for joining us today, and we are going to kick things off here. It is 1 a.m. in Melbourne right now, and that is exactly where I am. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Robbie to the show. What's going on, man? All right, let's see. Hey, what's going on, Judson?
Hey, thanks for having me.
I do much more. We are joined with BirdDog Ian, who is at the Capture Summit over in Atlanta. So how's it going, man?
Hot and sweaty.
That's the most important question that our team can ask. Why are you needing this camera?
Now, I haven't tested this thing since it got here. This is something that I'm really excited that NDI did. That's cool. Obviously, there are lots of flavors here, but this is the 4250 line. And our little friend here. Say hello to my little friend. It's brewing in the back of my throat. Based on the recommendation of Senseless, we're going to give a Java Monster a try.
Oh, yeah, Pocky, dude.
We got a little Pocky, and I have been putting this off for an age.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
There is a Snacks on Stream mystery box brought to you by my Snacks on Stream manager, Brayton. What's going on, Bugsy?
There you go. What's going on? Balu, good to see you, man.
What's going on, NetHab? Hey, what's going on, Judson? And hey, Kevin, good to see you, man. What's going on, Jeremy? How are you? Thanks for jumping on. Oh, it's all good. Yep. It is time again for BirdDog Live. So we're going to hang out here for an hour at least and answer your questions and see what is going on. Now, my vMix machine here is constantly spiking up to like 95% CPU, and then it goes back down to like 63. So right now we're at 63 and everything's nice and smooth. And then when it jumps up to 90, then it has all sorts of problems. So I definitely need to probably get a second machine in here and do the StreamYard thing over on that machine and do the vMix output differently. But anyways, we'll sort all of that out in the future. But if you see me dropping frames, that's exactly what's going on. Good stuff. What is going on? Stockholm, Sweden. That's pretty cool. Thanks for jumping on here today. I see you've been here quite a fair bit, so appreciate you coming on here. Hello from Toronto. Hey, what's going on? I'm from Toronto. Ages ago now, unfortunately. I haven't been able to return to the motherland in quite some time, but I am from the Toronto area. And hi from Montreal. Awesome. I have not lived in Montreal, but I am Canadian, so maybe we have that in common. I also wanted, I just hit my microphone, so I'm making sure that's okay. Whoops-a-daisy. John's hairstyle through the ages. Is that, that's what that video was? Yeah, it goes through stages, so it's a little short right now. But I'm in the middle of doing a whole bunch of like video recording, and so I have to have the same outfit and mostly the same hairstyle. The beard is changing. So yeah, that's short, but right now I'm like I said, I'm doing some recording, so it's got to be the same for a while. So yeah, John's hairstyles, that's always fun. Oh, and then I made my hat crooked, so that's always nice. And it's hard to do this while looking at the confidence monitor. Okay, that's a little better. Yes, so that is me, and you can see that I've added a little sticker to my microphone stand here that gives a little BirdDog flavor. And on the third shot, which is the one of this blue wall, There's even a sticker on the inside of that stand. So yeah, there's a few little Easter egg changes here that we've made over the past couple of days. Gosh, I love this microphone. I've been recording with it for 3 days now, and 3 actual recording days. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks, but yeah, this microphone is amazing. And of course, all the BirdDog cameras that I've got around here. I primarily am using the P200 just because we are recording it in 1080p 60 and with a bunch of other things going on, mind you. For example, I use a program called, oh geez, Notability. So I have an iPad Pro and I have an Apple Pencil. And one of the cool things that I can do is I can use Notability to basically write on the screen. So I can throw this source up here and you can see, oh, that's not the right source. Let's go back here. Yoink, I thought I selected this one. There we go. So I can throw this up here, and using the power of NDI, I can capture this screen in 1080p, and then I can write live on screen. And actually, I can write. The problem is that it's rarely legible, so that's a problem because my writing is pretty messy. Oh, there you go. There's some of the stuff we're talking about. So, but like, you know, my writing is actually quite hard to read, I think. So I don't know if that's helping people or not. But anyways, so we're able to actually bring in the iPad screen as an NDI source and then use that inside vMix. So my vMix integration has continually grown, especially while we are working on some of these new tutorial videos and things that we're doing. But it's pretty cool that we are able to bring that in as a source, as a screen share, basically, and then I can use the Apple Pencil to actually write as though it's a whiteboard. So that's pretty fun. Let me get my mouse over here. Hi from Montreal. Okay, a question. So after I updated the P200 cameras from LT to LTS and PTZ keyboard also, I lose every boot up one. I lose every one of the ports that manage PTZ cameras, even if they're discoverable. Okay, say this one more time. I lose. So the LTS update from 195 to LTS was a significant jump in terms of sophistication and just how the keyboard is going to interact with the cameras. Gave a lot more tactile function, but it also gave a whole bunch more features. There were a few more cameras that were third-party cameras that were added in the LTS update with keyboard. So if it is, yes, so the calibration thing, for example, was added because in 195, if you left the keyboard on for a long time, it would lose the 0 position. And so the calibration is when you restart the keyboard, it gets a fresh calibration every time you do it. And on the latest LTS version, it has on the screen. Actually, I had one in here the other day. It was a demo one, so they must have taken it back. But I had one in here the other day where we showed the calibration up, down, left, right, and you literally just push it to the extreme and let it go. Push it to the extreme and let it go. It takes about 5 seconds to do, and then it's calibrated when you turn on the joystick. But it guarantees that 0 will always be 0, and that was a requested feature a long time ago that people wanted, and so that's been integrated into the keyboard. But after I updated the P200s to LTS and the keyboard, I don't understand this portion. I lose every boot up one of the ports. I lose that managed PTZ cameras, even that they are discoverable. Okay, so there's a couple things here with keyboard that we should be absolutely clear with. If you are losing IP information, for example, from keyboard, or you are how did this move? Oh my word. Okay, so if you are losing, like, first things first is you probably should, once you redo the LTS update, you should re-add the cameras to the keyboard. Okay, this thing is not clipping on here. Anyways, you should do a search on the keyboard and re-add those cameras to the keyboard, because essentially the brains have changed of both of the devices. They're not the same device anymore, and they're even broadcasting a little bit differently. So you should definitely hit the search button, go to NDI IP if that's the protocol you're using, and search for the cameras. Depending on how your network is designed, like keyboard is really reliant on running in DHCP, and a lot of people are frustrated by this, and we're going to explain this in greater detail in the future. But if you're using things in static, which I don't know here, if you're using things in static, you really need to use Discovery Server, because static is not broadcasting. When the devices are in static, they're not broadcasting their information, and the keyboard relies on that broadcast to make a connection. So if you're having problems making a connection from keyboard to camera and they're not all showing up, or some of them are showing up or none of them are showing up, that's because the broadcasts aren't happening if the cameras are in static. So if you don't want to go to a DHCP, like a proper NDI network, and you have to keep it in static for some reason, if it's just not feasible or it's not going to work for you, then you have to get a Discovery Server online, and that functions on a Windows computer right now. I don't know if there's a Mac version or not. I should look. But anyways, so yeah, definitely make sure that all the cameras are getting unique IP addresses. If you need those IP addresses to be the same long term, and you are using a DHCP, which is what you've just listed here, if you are using a DHCP, then I would strongly suggest that you go in and use the DHCP reservation list and do fixed addresses, at least on the DHCP side. And then they're not going to change. So then you know which ones are which, but the function will be inside. Setting static IP addresses and setting DHCP reservations are not the same thing. It's the same on the surface, but underneath there's a lot more sophistication with the reservation list. So if you want them to stay the same, that's fine. One of the cameras is IP discovered, but I have the wrong port. The port numbers didn't change on the update. What is it? 52861 or something like that. Port numbers shouldn't have changed. Mac reservations rule. Hey, Michael. Yes, sir. Agreed. That's over a unified 8 switch. Oh, how many cameras on that unified switch? And is that a Gen 1 or a Gen 2? Unify makes Mac reservations pretty straightforward, actually, because you can just go in, select the device on the list, and say fixed IP address, and then it locks it. 3 cameras and a keyboard on a Unify. Whew, okay. All right. So what's generally the symptom? Let's put the performance of the switch aside for a second. Let's just say you're plugging in the cameras. They're all running in DHCP, and they're all getting IP addresses that are appropriate for your network. When you search for them with the NDI IP, you turn on your keyboard and you search for them. How many cameras come back? How many get reported back? I'd be curious to know. All right, and there's a handful of you guys that are hanging out. Thanks for jumping on. I'm really pleased with my little whiteboard on my iPad thing, although it's chicken scratch. I like the versatility of having that option. And also, now that everything is in vMix, like I can do desktop capture out of here and cut to that. And hey, I'm in the corner still, which is exactly what StreamYard does, but StreamYard eats up your CPU when you do that. And so now vMix already has that set, and so I don't have to add additional CPU power. So, hats off in this instance. vMix is managing the CPU very well in for this, and so I'm quite happy with that. My Unify switch handles all of that. I don't use a Unify router. So you're using a different router is what you mean. You have one, it's just not a Unify router. NDI discovered 3. Okay, great. So all 3 cameras are there. So now we need to go through and add each of those. So click on the first IP address, go in and set it to cam 1, go back, go to the second address, add it to cam 2, go back, add it to cam 3. And then once that's done, then exit all the way out and call each of those cameras and drive them. Oh, PF Sense for routing. Very cool. I've heard good things about pfSense. I just haven't had a whole lot of time to monkey around with it, but I've heard good things. Very good things. So yeah, once you go through and you add all 3 of those cameras anew, because you have 3 cameras, right? So you have 3 cameras. It found all 3, re-add them individually to the keyboard, and then go through and say 1 cam and drive that one, 2 cam, drive that one, 3 cam, drive that one. Let me know what errors you get after you do that, because you have to re-add them to the keyboard when you've done the update. The brain's really changed a lot with the update. That's because vMix uses GPU as much as possible. Yeah, and I would love it to use more GPU. The bummer here is this computer does not really have much of a GPU. So that's an interesting thought though. I have a cage. I have one of those external drives that you can connect, like PCIe Express. Geez, I should bring that in here. Although it might be kind of noisy, but I have a GPU in that thing, and I just haven't been able to utilize it yet because we were doing some testing with cloud. We had a couple of GPUs at NAB in Las Vegas, and we had those in servers, and they were all right. They were Quadro 4000s. They were okay, but at the end of the day, meh. They weren't the super impressive ones that I like. So I believe the CPU is also impacted with NDI. Yes, absolutely. And I actually have a little readout on my Stream Deck that shows the CPU usage. Now, what's weird is the CPU usage that shows up there is not the same as Task Manager, which I find odd. Shouldn't it be the same? However, it is the same here that it is in vMix. So vMix gives you a little readout at the bottom of the screen, and it says the same that this one says, but then the one in Task Manager is always 10% more. So I think that's weird. That's what I did. But just 2 cameras are managed PTZs. That's what I did, but just 2 cameras are managed. So you can only control 2 of them? Is that what I'm hearing? All 3 are shown in vMix. Did you enable Visca IP control in vMix? Because that's going to throw errors when you're trying to do NDI managed control and vMix Visca IP control. Perhaps turn that off if that is on in vMix. Can you go direct RTMP to StreamYard? Probably less CPU intense than using external and browsing. I'm using it's actually a USB port. Basically, the browser connects to the USB port. I don't think I can go direct in terms of connecting my camera. It would be less, but at least vMix will output like a USB. That was something. Oh shoot, who suggested that? Was it Michael? Anyways, somebody suggested that about a couple of weeks ago, and when we were doing the show with Jake last week, and Jake was showing off Central, and I went into the background and I totally switched my input while I was doing that, turned off the NDI output on this and changed it to the external output and linked that to StreamYard, and everything was like just humming along. I dropped like 30% CPU just by doing that, so that was pretty good. Yeah, so the vMix control is a different set of controls than the keyboard. The keyboard is using NDI metadata to control it, and that will conflict with the Sony Visca IP commands that vMix is sending. So either control it in vMix or control it on the keyboard, but don't do both, because that's gonna send conflicting commands to the camera. So I would turn that off, because vMix, for example, vMix sends preset recall differently than NDI sends preset recall. vMix sends their own preset commands, and the NDI metadata is sent via, well, it's in the NDI channel. It's totally different. So that's going to send conflicting commands inside, to the camera. It's 2 different sets of commands, and they're going to clash. It's a great question, though, about the RTMP streaming to StreamYard. I don't know. Should look into that. I should see what options, because we pay for the highest tier of StreamYard. which gives me the option to bring in 10 guests, but I never have 10 guests available. But yeah, that's anyways, it gives us 10 guests. It gives us a lot of recording time. It gives us a bunch of flexibility. I really like StreamYard. It allows us to send the signal to 8 different or 8 or 10 different destinations, something like that. And so I'm right now we're going to 7 today. And when I am with Tom, like Tom Sinclair was on the show the other day, and I was able to send him an RTMP stream to his vMix machine, and then he was rebroadcasting the show on Eastern Shore, was interacting with his people over there, and he was interacting with my group over here. And that was pretty cool. And next Wednesday, the plan is for me to join him on his show at the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Streaming Idiots show. And so Tom has a show every week. It's pretty great, and you should check that out and definitely subscribe to his channel because he is a well-known wealth of knowledge in the NDI realm, but also in the vMix realm, also in the audio realm. Tom is a great guy to know. So yeah, connect with him. That's more clear now. You were just great. Oh, I love this comment. I'll give you feedback next time. Yeah, but let me know how that goes. I'm curious. I want to get this kind of resolved for you here because make sure that all, like, if you have a joystick, then it makes no sense to use vMix because you can call presets. Now, here's the difference with the vMix presets and the controller presets. The presets are stored. If you go on your controller and you press 1 and you hold down the preset button, the screen will eventually change and say preset 1 defined or preset defined or something like that. That will store the information on board the camera itself. There's onboard memory in the camera. If you go into vMix and you store a preset, that will store it in the vMix profile and not on the camera. And so then if you call preset 1 on the keyboard, it's not going to call the vMix preset. It's going to call the onboard preset, which is, this is the like, it's great. vMix, again, has its place. And honestly, I like the preset stuff in vMix. I just don't use it. But if you're storing presets with the keyboard, those are stored on board the camera. If you're storing presets in vMix, they're going to be stored inside the vMix profile. The advantage with storing them on board the camera with Studio Monitor or with a keyboard is that Studio Monitor or the keyboard can call those. You can just hit, call preset 1 on the keyboard or in Studio Monitor, and it will be the same recall. But if you call preset 1 in vMix, it's going to reference whatever it's stored in vMix and not consult the preset that's on board the camera. So it does it differently, and you should know the difference. If you're going to use vMix, you should definitely know the difference between the two. Did I miss snacks on stream? You absolutely did not. But Frank, aren't you away today? Frank has big life change stuff coming up this weekend, and so he's busy getting ready for that. And we're all super excited for him. But you did not miss snacks on stream today. We're trying fiery chili lemon. These spicy chips. Now, these ones are not as spicy as the last ones, which unfortunately were not very spicy. So these ones are going to be super hot, not freaking hot, according to their very precise scale that's on the back of the chip bag. But I'm excited about these. The chips are actually quite good. They have a really strong corn flavor to them. And so today's snacks on stream will be this chip bag. Good stuff. I'm just finishing my coffee. And then the other thing that we're going to try, we're going to give Celsius another go because the first one I didn't appreciate as much as the rest of the folks in the office. And so I've been told the orange flavor is much better and to give it a second go. So by all means, we'll give it a second chance. This coffee is almost empty, so we're going to drink this. And then we'll get to it. So you did not miss snacks on stream, Frank. Good times. Thanks for jumping on, even on your day off. If you have the keyboard, the vMix PTZ controls are simply not required or desirable. Ooh, that is a strong statement. Michael is just saying all sorts of things that I agree with today. The keyboard's going to give you a little bit better tactile function of the actual PTZ function on the camera. Plus, you're going to be able to control the coloration and the iris and the focus, which is a big one. You can really dial that in. The zoom, which gives you the rocker option, but I really like the joystick, the ability to turn the joystick, and that seems to be a much better way of, especially if you're panning or tilting or both or all, and you can zoom at the same time, becomes like a really useful tactile control. And so the BirdDog keyboard is definitely worth the investment. And if you buy 3 cameras, it's a part of a bundle. So you buy 3 cameras and you get a free keyboard. In particular, the camera, the P200s. So I don't know what deals are going on right now. They keep kind of like evolving over time. But what's going on here? Why can't I change this? Stop. I'm just going to edit playlist slightly. There we go. Way better. Okay. So yeah, good times, great oldies. And guess who's back? Mr. Klusterman. What is going on, Jeremy? How are you, man? Good to see you again. We are eating in a couple of minutes some fiery chili, real peppers, real heat chips. Now, the ones that the white bag is the next level, which we've already had on this show. And so I'm looking forward to a good tasting corn chip. That's the plan. And then we're also going to try Celsius, orange Celsius, which Brayton has been so kind to go and pick up. And I insulted him the first time because I didn't enjoy the first one. But that is the plan. So, yes, guess who's back? Back again. It's Mr. Jeremy. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate that. So yeah, let's without further ado. Yes, I do indeed like the hot peppers and chips, and I was doing a whole ramen, spicy Korean ramen segment for like 3 months. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I ended up falling in love with those ramen packets. So special shout out to Beep Chirp, who got me addicted, and I've had to go cold turkey because it was not agreeing with the weight scale at home. So let's go for it.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, God, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
That's right. It is time for today's Snacks on Stream while we continue to answer NDI questions. And so here we go. This should be awesome. I'm collecting more and more Snacks on Stream material, so we'll have to update our Snacks on Stream intro, but that one is a good one. So here we go. Celsius, before I burn my mouth with something spicy, let's try this. Let's give it a go. Orange flavor. It says Celsius. I assume that says live or live fit, but I want to say live. Yes. Way better than that first one. I can vouch for this. The orange, sparkling orange, I would drink that again. And I will. Yeah, that's great. So let's check this out real quick before we get on. Total calories, 1 serving per container. Total calories is 10. Carbohydrates, 2 grams of carbos, 0 sugar. Vitamin C, 60 milligrams, which is 67% of your daily intake. And then good old thing that we have some riboflavin. There's a Seinfeld joke about that. Thank goodness we're getting our riboflavin. Yada, yada, yada. Vitamin B6, which helps you stay alert and active, and vitamin B12. So 2 milligrams of six something or others, 250% of your vitamin B12. Boyton, whatever that is, and some acids, some calcium, and 50 milligrams of calcium, and something else. No sodium. That's all good. And then there's like something Meta Plus proprietary blend. Oh, that sounds weird. But that's like ginger extract, a little bit of caffeine, yada, yada, yada. Green tea leaf extract, all the good stuff that you're looking for in life. It's there in a grand total of 1.81 grams. So giddy up. I am a big fan though. That's the Celsius orange. It's quite good. It's kind of like it's like a grown-up version of orange drink from the old school McDonald's days. Anybody remember that? You remember getting those orange, like those drink dispensers that you'd have, and you get the orange McDonald's drink, and you fill that up, and you get the wax cups. Anybody feeling that memory? Because that is one from my childhood. Anyways, hey, appreciate that, Jeremy. Thank you. It's not a new cut. That's the original. Are there any benefits from vMix converting NDI HX to full using NDI bridge? I don't have an HX source in this office because no, it's because Silicone 2 is not out yet, and then all of my devices will have NDI HX. However, so I don't have any experience doing that, and I don't even have an HX source that I can test other than, I guess there's a screen capture HX source that we could test that on. So maybe that's something we could try. Doing a screen capture HX. I don't necessarily want to do it this second because my CPU is struggle busting it here this morning, but taking an HX source, converting it with NDI bridge to full, excuse me, and then bringing it into vMix that way. Because vMix outputs full NDI, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's what their outputs are. Can you change that yet? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too sure what the options are, but we'll have a mix of full NDI and HX cameras. Yeah, and you'll have to be careful there with the latency because that is gonna you're gonna have to adjust all of your full cameras to be delayed and your audio to be delayed to your lowest common denominator, which will be HX. But anyways, omega 3s. I'm gonna go with no. I don't see anything here because this isn't fish oil. But I don't know. Brayton will tell us. He knows. I don't think omega 3s are a part of that. What is this? I thought I was going to learn about NDI, not a drink and an eating show. Time is money. I guess I need to look at some other brand then. Bye. Okay, Marcus. We'll see you later. Thanks for stopping by. I'm not hurt by that at all. Yes, orange drink. Yeah, it's true. Good times. Tang. That's what the astronauts drink. It's true. They do. Not just screens. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over one. NDI screen capture can also output your webcam and other NDI HX as another HX source. Okay, cool. Not just screens. Got it. Haven't played with that that HX program yet. So what is the latency of HX? It varies based on manufacturer. So it's not a perfect equation. Typically, according to the NDI white page, it's like 8. That's not true. Let's look it up. I can look up the HX comparison because there was a NDI HX3 comparison chart. There it is. So the way that HX2 was, they just say high, medium, low. They don't actually say anything useful in terms of actual numbers. Latency very low. Asterisks. What is that? Can we get specific? I'm sure they don't want to give specifics because then people are going to hold them to, well, this new update doesn't adhere to the exact specs, which people are notorious for doing. But latency very low. and then there's an asterisk, and then I can't read the writing that defines what the asterisk is. So maybe I need to go back and find something a little bit closer to that. I know that lumens, where is the actual NDI? There we go. Actual NDI site is what I want to look at. And then, of course, they don't have it listed. Come on. All right. Well, this isn't super helpful because I feel like it should be front and center. It's their new protocol. So it's like, where is it, right? Yeah, it's not actually on the landing page, which is where you would assume that those comparisons would be made. Nope. All right. So I can't speak precisely to that, and I wish I could, but I don't know. Me personally, if I'm comparing the options out there, you're going to want the lowest latency possible, which will always be high bandwidth. HX is a close second, and HX3 is a close second. HX2 is still too much latency for live production, so that's more like recording studio stuff. And HX is just the baseline. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Me personally, obviously, I'm running BirdDog stuff, so that's all full NDI. I didn't catch the whole convo and omega 3s, but I heard Brayton will tell you. Yeah, I didn't know if there were omega 3s in this drink. That was the question. From the web, omega 3 fatty acids are one of the good types of fat. They may help lower. Okay, but does this drink contain them? That was the question. It got stopped for saying fatty acids. Oh, Michael thinks HX is icky. I don't know if that's a technical term, but it depends. Look, it depends on what you're using it for. It depends on what your budget is. There's a whole bunch of stuff. BirdDog purposefully sets their marketing price to be competitive with the HX market, and then you get the full frame, high bandwidth option with BirdDog, and soon, with the expectation of Silicone 2, there will be additional formats that will be available. Obviously, the most exciting one is the direct SRT option. And so the HX stuff, to me, that why would I choose HX when I have full? I don't know, unless my network's not up to snuff. And honestly, you got to put your resources at your network if that's the case, because you want to use the full stuff. That's the difference between driving a fast car and driving an economy car, is you get all the bells and whistles with the low latency stuff. So it's good stuff there. It indeed is a technical term, icky. Yeah, good stuff. All right. So good times. All right, so let's give these chips a chance to go. And my friend from Montreal, if you are still around, let me know what if you've made any changes to those settings on your network, if that has improved the controllability of your 3 cameras and a keyboard. So I'm going to just turn off this here. I'm going to switch over just quickly to this is the this is the bag for the chips. It's a purple bag, although it looks blue on the stream because of my RGB lights. So this is what we're having today. Good stuff. Look good. Let's give it a go. All right, so hit me up with the rest of your NDI questions. These are just like straight up Dorito. That's the heat we're looking at. But they're quite good. I actually think they taste a little better than Doritos. But, there you go. I like Michael. Icky is a very technical term. Yeah, and there's some icky stuff out in the market. A lot of it that is not... well, anyways, a lot of it that you don't want to get into. But the BirdDog line, that's some of the best stuff out there. So that's what we're here to talk about. So the need for HX is negated with SRT, i.e. transmission over public WAN. Agreed. That is going to be a big deal. Or cell phone camera apps. Yeah, that's its functionality. I have the HX app on this. Oh, I have an HX source. Is this iPad? I could add it to the network with an Ethernet connector and just hardline it into my NDI network. and then I could have an HX source because that app is HX only. Well, that would be a good way to test it, I guess, as an external HX source. I agree that HX is not desirable. I'm trying to integrate Mevo Start in the production for goal cams and pylon cams. Interesting. Let's take a quick look at the Mevo Start and see what it is that you're trying to do here, because I've heard things about this. Oh, okay, I know this camera. This is a Logitech company now. Interesting. Let's kill the playlist here. So this little Mevo Start is what we're talking about. What is the output? Is it HDMI? $1,000 for 3. Let's take a look at the back of the camera. Where's some photos here? What do we got? Recording, batteries, audio, external outputs. What are the outputs? There's an audio output. 2 of those. We don't have any like HDMI out or anything? Even like micro HDMI? Huh. It's for streaming. Stream using NDI. Oh. How is it connecting? Over Wi-Fi? Interesting. I'd be interested to see what the quality of the NDI HX is. I remember when this camera launched, it just said NDI, and I was like, "Ooh, what brand?" It was HX. But can you hardline this in at all? Wired via Ethernet power adapter, support PoE enabled networks, Wi-Fi internet to stream. But what about the NDI? Logitech is aware that NDI is a wired based protocol for the most part, right? Oh, there. So yeah, they're intending you to send NDI HX over the Wi-Fi. That's such a bummer. Does the HX go out of the adapter does it go out of the Ethernet adapter if you plug it in? Up to 15 megabits per second. Oh, this is in the shot. Sorry, everybody. Does it... where are we here? Connectivity. Built-in Wi-Fi. Dual antennas. High-end Wi-Fi chip. Ooh. AC, not AX? Come on. Come on. Mevo has a Wi-Fi hotspot, or via our Ethernet-powered adapter allows you to your enabled switcher or router. The dongle provides power and wired network connection for Mevo Start. Okay, I like this better. So does the NDI travel over that adapter? Does it allow it to do that? Because then I'm like, okay, we can be solved. Oh no, 10100. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, anyways, that's an interesting idea. Let's see. I've not tried the Ethernet adapter yet. It would be great to know if the adapter then would take that HX signal and put it on your NDI network, because that would be a whole lot more consistent and probably be faster in terms of lining it up in post-production. Probably a fair bit faster. Let's see here. Sorry, I missed a bunch of stuff apparently. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this screen smaller because there we go. Cell phones, I agree HX is not desirable. I'm trying to integrate. Many cameras implement HX because it can be done with a firmware update, and it's super common and cheap with H.264 encoder. I can always tell the level of my customer's knowledge based on what icky equipment that they reveal that they're trying to use. Hey, why don't you just use a BirdDog box cam? Probably price is a thing here, because you can get 3 of these Logitechs for $1,000, whereas this PF120 is running a little bit more than that per camera, although it's a Sony sensor, so it's good stuff there. Yeah, USB-C. Mevo has a USB to Ethernet dongle. Mevo uses Wi-Fi and or Ethernet. I almost forgot that we had a show today. What's going on, GoWeb? Good to see you, man. I didn't get the reminder. Uh-oh. YouTube's algorithms are working against me now. NDI only works over the wired what? Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that that was the case. It doesn't say that here on the website. AHX was intended to support Wi-Fi links without incurring a huge support burden. That's also an interesting revelation. I think you can use the USB-C network adapter. What I remember when doing some research, 10100 is enough. Yeah, I know, but like it's 2022. Come on. I'm hoping for HX3 support in the future. I'm making Sanaya study for her exams and the phone was away. Gotcha. Well, I totally understand. Thank you for stopping by anyways. Appreciate that. Welcome back to the show. Yeah. So, okay. So here's a question that I have for you while I eat these chips. Not about the chips. The question I have for you is, when you first got involved in the NDI game, what were the things that you wish were more readily, what were the topics of education you wish were more readily available than they were at the time or currently? So if you see a void in the market, the NDI market, about, man, I wish there was more information on this thing, what are those things that you wish were there? Because BirdDog is very interested in providing some education and making sure people are familiar with, especially common-based things, making sure that they're familiar with what is going on with the NDI world. So if there are education items that you had wished were available or are still not available, please let me know, because we have the ability to record things. It's just a matter of time, making sure that there's enough time out there to do those items. But we want to do them well. We want to be sure we cover them, at least from a BirdDog perspective, and then make them available for people. So any tutorials that were out there that you think are lacking, please drop a line in the chat and let me know. Jerry, frame latency of 1 NDI. Well, full NDI is supposed to be 1 frame per device. So the P200 is encoding at 1 frame latency, and the decode would be happening also on a Flex Out or a Mini or a Studio at 1 frame as well. Now that is 1 frame compared to the camera's SDI output. So we are encoding, but there's a process that's happening at the camera before it gets to the encoder. And so it hits the lens, it goes down to the board processes that data, turns it into usable video, and outputs it to the SDI output, the HDMI output, and the NDI chip. And then the NDI chip takes 1 frame and encodes it to NDI and out the NIC card. So that's the expectation with full bandwidth NDI, is 1 frame off of the SDI output. Camera manufacturers are very reluctant to tell you what their latency is from lens to output, which seems odd to me, because that could provide some great competitive based market where they could compare latencies to their competitors and show that they're faster from glass to output. But the general consensus in the manufacturing market is that's a hush-hush thing. We don't talk about that. But the NDI realm says, well, we take that output on the camera and we add 1 frame to it and we output it via NDI. So that is how that's measured. It doesn't necessarily mean that the Panasonic cameras are 1 frame shorter than the Bolin cameras. It doesn't mean that the Sony lenses are 1 frame compared to Lumen's cameras. It's not apples to apples. When we talk about NDI encoding, we're talking about NDI compared to the SDI output of the camera that we're using the NDI FPGA for. So that's when you hear NDI latency, it's not compared from PTZ Optics, BirdDog, NewTek, Lumens, yada yada. It's comparing it to the latency that's already on the camera, the process it takes from glass down to baseboard, and then from the baseboard to out the NDI chip. That's the NDI latency, that piece right there. So that's hopefully a little bit more. I wish that I knew NDI couldn't remotely match the latency of SDI cameras for IMAG. Well, NDI is, like I just said, NDI is taking the picture from the camera and turning it into NDI. And so, yeah, it will be one frame. The BirdDog one will be one frame going out the NDI port, and then it will be one frame to decode it back if you're using a BirdDog decoder. If you're using other decoders in the market, I can't speak to their brands. I think KiloView and NewTek are the only ones that have an actual full NDI decoder, but the expectation is one frame, at least as far as we're concerned, because that's what NewTek says. So we're expecting that. Does frame sync work or matter with NDI? So this is a great question to cover in an education course, but to answer your question, NDI frames are it's a totally different way of transporting video than, say, over the SDI port and what people are used to with something like Genlock. So Genlock was a way to lock all your cameras together with the same time code and, you know, keep everything kind of fine-tuned. That function is kind of stripped away when we talk about NDI, because NDI, when you encode that, has its own internal time code. So people say, like, well, how do I lock all the time codes together? It's like, none of that. That's not even a thing. Like, the internal time code is just strictly so that on the other end, the decoder can put the frames in sequence and make sure that it's a nice, smooth image happening on the screen. So that is where NDI Genlock 5 came out, where you can look at one time code on a device, on an NDI 5 device, and lock everybody to that time code. So it's all using the same time code, but it still isn't true Genlock like we know it to be, you know, with a Genlock generator. It's not that. We're just locking it all to the same time code on the camera. And in theory, then those cameras will all be sequenced together at the same time. So it's a little bit different than how the industry understands it. And it's really silly that they're using the same words, because it's not necessarily the same thing, as I understand it. So strategies for minimum latency. Strategies for this start and end with your network design, as far as I'm concerned. And people get really frustrated with this because they paid for a BirdDog device, and so they want the BirdDog to lower the latency. The latency out of your P200 is the same latency out of my P200. And so that's not going to change. The real catch there is, and that's a great topic to cover, by the way, for the education stuff. But the real kicker, the thing that changes the most is the network. And so how you're transporting that information from start to finish. And people, again, we get a lot of frustration at the help desk about this, because it's usually the thing that's neglected the most, because you can pay whatever you want for a network infrastructure, and you can always buy something better. But the BirdDog camera isn't going to change. The firmware update is going to make your P200 and my P200 operate at the same level. And people want, you should be able to we should be able to turn up the bandwidth and it would lower the latency. And no, that's not how that works. It really does start and stop with the network stuff and how fast and how much you've invested in that. You can get away with a simple network, and it'll give you decent results, but there's always room for improvement on that spot, because you can always buy something with more horsepower, something with faster transmission rates, a whole bunch of things can go on there. So compared to one line delay on Genlock SDI cameras, I see what you mean. Yes. So for IMAG, I mean, if you're putting apples to apples, if you're trying to compare NDI to SDI Genlock, it's really an unfair comparison, because we are doing a process that the SDI stuff is not doing. So the SDI stuff is not doing an additional encode process and decode process that we have to do to get it into ones and zeros. But you can't necessarily use that SDI output as flexible as you can with NDI. NDI, once it's in ones and zeros, you can send it anywhere in the world. And so that's the difference, is okay, we take 2 frames, but now it's way more versatile than just a hardline BNC SDI connection. So, you take it for what it's worth. I thought full NDI was sub 1 frame, like a handful of lines. The expectation is 1 frame, just flat out of the gates. That gives them room to, yes, make it better than 1 frame, but it should be 1 frame is the expectation. I was introduced to NDI over a Discord channel group. There is no proper tutorials about NDI online. What I have learned about NDI is hundreds of videos over YouTube. Okay, so this is an interesting thing because I agree with you. Actually, there is a proper training tool, but it's $1,500. NDI has a thing called New Tech University or NDI University, and they offer a course that you can take and learn everything about the latest NDI from top to bottom. And it's a great course. It's tutored by a guy named Kane Patterson? Kane. And there's not very many people in my life named Kane, so that's how I know him. And he does an excellent job of covering everything, but you do need to, it's quite an expensive course. And so if you want to learn and you want to become kind of new tech certified, you can take that course and learn all of their stuff. But I agree that there's very little formalized training when it comes to NDI in the market, and that's actually something that BirdDog wants to address. And so that is the purpose of this question is, and this is great. That is a great comment, GoWeb, that you make about there's just only a few resources. Now, I say all that. I have a knowledge database, that I've done a lot of tutorials for BirdDog stuff on. That's available for free over on the birddog.tv website. Go over to support, say knowledge database, and you can dig around in there, and there are videos there. And all of those videos are hosted on the BirdDog YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube, type in BirdDog TV, and pull up the one with the green symbol that has BirdDog, and go to the playlists and say tutorials, they're all listed there. And so you can poke around there and see everything that we've done to date they're all hosted on that site under that playlist. Now they're hidden otherwise because we don't want to pollute the YouTube page with a bunch of like mini tutorials, but they are all listed in that tutorials list in a kind of a total place. Be more explicit of network requirements. So when I started the research, it was really hard to find out the actual network needs. It was marketed as just plug it into your network. Yes, I agree with you. And that will be something that we cover extensively in its own section as a part of some of the education stuff we're going to cover. So I promise you, we're going to do better about articulating that, about what's really needed to get up and running, depending on scaling, about making your network bigger to handle more NDI sources, all that sort of good stuff. That is a part of something that's already being planned. So I hope to have more of that soon. Rarely there's a lag controlling P200 cameras with the PTZ keyboard. Why? There shouldn't be a lag. You may have a network problem going on there. Have you gone through the Unify settings and like turned off QoS? They don't call it QoS. It's called deep packet DSI, I think, deep packet or DPS, deep packet DPI, deep packet inspection. Man, I can't remember. But you have to look specifically to the Unify stuff. Google how to turn off QoS on your Unify system because it's not called QoS. It's called something else. But you need to turn packet inspection off because that will slow down the transmission of the packets between the devices. So check into that. That might be causing an error. So then I got fascinated with BirdDog technology, which is futuristic. So then I purchased a few BirdDog products and I started practical hands-on NDI technology. See, you are like a lot of folks where they just bought BirdDog products and kind of like got into NDI because they discovered it somewhere or they saw it at a trade show and they thought it was cool. You are very much so like a bunch of people in the market. Don't worry. I don't want that to be the case. I want to be able to provide like a general, here's what you're getting into. Here's the stuff that you need to know before you make your first purchase. I want to make that available. And so we're definitely talking about that as an option and hoping that we'll have something here in the near future for that. So that's great to know. I agree. I think though that's a very common story among a lot of folks that are in the industry. So hey, John, going back 2 weeks, was there a definite answer about the P200 drawing PoE power, even if it's plugged in electronically? Actually, there is an answer to that. I discovered, and I think it's a problem with the beta actually, but I discovered that it does draw PoE power over DC if both are plugged in. My P200 draws 14.3, between 14.3 and 14.7 watts, even when it's plugged in with DC power. So I sent that over to the engineers and said, is this intended for it to default to PoE power first? Obviously, with more sophisticated PoE switches, you can go into the mana switch and turn off the PoE function. And so then you won't be of that port, and then you won't be spending PoE power on that port. But yes, by default, we've discovered that the PoE power is still drawn down even when DC power is plugged in. So that's great, MTash. I think it's supposed to be the other way, though. Just up to me. I think if you plug in DC power, that should be the precedent. It should only draw DC and should turn off the PoE module. But we learned that it's the opposite. So they're going to look at that. They're going to figure out maybe what's going on there. More practical learning by doing. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of us have learned about NDI by just jumping in and doing it, right? So you are a very versatile person if you can look at a new protocol, get your hands on it, and learn as much as you can about it instead of needing to be spoon-fed everything. But I think that the market really needs to have a more formalized training, and at least like here's what you do, here's what we expect it to do, here's why you shouldn't do these things, you know, and provide some practical training. So good stuff. Latency strategy must be considered end to end. I agree, and a big piece of that is more about understanding the network side of things. And I know that the marketing initially, at least, was just plug it in. It just works. NewTek had that in their marketing for a while. And it's true. It does just work, but not just by plugging it in. It's a little bit more sophisticated than that, and we should probably be a little more upfront than that. Glass to projector. Yeah. Glass to glass endpoint. That's a great idea. Henry here. Hey, could you talk about BirdDog Play and NDI? Yeah, so I mean, just in general, Play is going to be a device that allows you to take a signal and decode it on a screen. That's primarily its function, and it'll be you plug it in over Ethernet, you power it with the USB port on the TV, and you HDMI into the television, and it should be able to take full NDI and HX sources and display them on the screen. It's just a simple way of doing that. However, it's not a flex out. Okay, Play and flex out are different processes because NDI5 introduced an ARM process, an ARM processor that allows us to encode BirdDog signals into an ARM decode and show them on a screen. And so latency is going to be different. All right, just out of the gates, it's not going to be as fast as a flex out. A flex out is going to do full NDI, and it's going to be the fastest and the best option if you're just comparing the two. But Play is going to be a very inexpensive way of showing NDI signals on screens. And ideally, we're talking about like across campuses. And so let's say we have a basketball game that's going on inside of an arena, and the game is being streamed, and out of vMix, and you're switching the show out of vMix. Well, one of your outputs can be NDI out. And then the Play devices can be subscribed to that stream and watch the game on that stream. Or you could use a program like Central 2.0, which is the new one, and you can take that vMix stream and you can retransmit it with any audio signal. So say we have the game audio happening just strictly on the vMix out, but we have commentators that are in a different portion of the building or whatever, and we want to marry the audio from the commentators to the stream on the video from vMix. You can do that now inside Central and subscribe the plays then to the retransmitted streams in Central, and have a very unique show that's being shown on the televisions around campus or in the building or whatever, in the hallways, at the concession stands, whatever you want to do. It's pretty stinking cool, actually. But the plays are an inexpensive way, and the latency doesn't really matter as much because you're not watching it on the screens. It's not an iMag device, okay? This is going to be something that you can inexpensively buy, put on the back of a television. I almost said a telly. Put it on the back of a TV, plug it into your NDI network, and power it with the USB port on the television. So that is kind of the idea. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful. Wow, you guys are chatting it up over here. How you route audio in your setup? Is it going through the BirdDog camera or how? Okay, so if you've joined the show for a while, you know that I'm a big proponent of audio separately, video separately, presentation separately, and marry them together at the end. There's a big discussion about no, there's no compression, there's no lost data, there's no nothing. Here's the issue. I have a $450 microphone, and it goes into a not a super expensive audio interface, but it goes into the interface. It's powered specifically for this microphone, and then it gets translated into USB data, which is at the maximum that it can do, and it gets sent into my computer at the maximum rate, and then I bring that into my show in vMix, and I marry that to the final output, and I output that with a master mix to StreamYard. So I don't change the quality of the audio until the very end, until I'm sending it to my source. Now, that philosophy is purely subjective to my preference, partially because, little unknown fact about me, is I do audio mixing for various venues, primarily a congregation on weekends, and I'm very interested in high quality audio and sound. And so I don't like to do anything to that audio until I absolutely have to. I want the full value. However, that is my philosophy. That is not some sort of written code into how to do broadcast. And so many times we have microphones in the field, and there's no way to get them back to the studio without marrying them to the NDI audio on the camera. And so we get it down to a 3.5 millimeter jack, and we plug it into the back of the camera. It gets married to the stream, and it comes across. NDI video comes across, and NDI audio comes across together in the same pipe. Then we separate it again in vMix or in Wirecast or whatever, and we use those audio channels that way. Or some people have a whole Dante network, and they're bringing those signals across, and they're bringing those into vMix, or they're bringing those into Dante controller, and then having them switched over with Dante bridge into NDI signals, and then bringing those NDI signals into vMix. However your philosophy perhaps goes down, it's up to you to decide how to get the signal in. But if I had my way, I don't want to compromise that signal at all. I want it to be the raw audio until I absolutely have to change it. And so that is why I think of it as video, audio, and then presentation. There's 3 different things that we're bringing together to make this final product. And I like to keep those things in their own compartments. That's just me. I'm a weirdo, and that may not be what you enjoy. So Genlock works to keep all the cameras transmitting at the same line of video at the same time, because if one camera is transmitting line 12 and the other is at 1078.9, the switcher has to wait 1,000 lines of delay to do a fade transition. Interesting. Yes. Any suggestions for recommended network settings for an enterprise managed switch? Oh, lots. When you say enterprise managed, are you talking HP, Aruba? Are you talking Microtik? Are you talking Cisco? Are you talking what's the other one? What's the other one that so and so just bought? Meraki. There's a few that I would go screaming into the night with. HP is notorious for having some quirky things. Meraki, Aruba, they're all, they're okay, but there are, whatever. I would kind of hope that maybe you would have an AV specific managed switch, like a Netgear 4250, something like that. But I definitely have some suggestions. First, turn off VLAN your NDI network so that it's isolated. That's first and foremost. And have a isolated DHCP service that's issuing IP addresses for that network. Then turn off QoS for that VLAN. Some switches don't. It's an all or nothing thing. So sometimes that might not be optional. But QoS is a packet inspection function, and you want that off because that is only going to slow things down. So turn off QoS. Be sure also that you turn off any sort of power reduction service, power conservation, triple IEE standards, whatever. Turn that off, because a lot of the cameras that we use idle at like 13, 14 watts, which is PoE. But then when they're fully functional and moving, they draw more than 15.4 watts, which is the standard for PoE, and they go into a PoE plus. So make sure everything's getting at least 30 watts. And if you're running something that's more than 30 watts, like the A200, A300, you're going to need to be sure that your switch can handle that sort of power output, or you're going to need a power injector, like the Bolin power injector that does 97 watts. Those two cameras, though, honestly, usually get powered by DC at the point because they're security type cameras, and DC power is usually there at the endpoint. You're not running a single connection. The PoE thing is helpful in a pinch, but hardline installs generally, especially for those two cameras, generally have DC power at that location. So yeah, depending on what other things I'm sure you're asking additional stuff here, but my comment list is getting quite long. Someone's dad just came home. That's cool. NDI only sends full frames. Excuse me. Phew. NDI only sends full frames, not broken into lines, so Genlock doesn't actually do anything. Well, it depends. I'll just leave it at that. It depends. So I have found the one frame latency to not be a problem for iMag. The delay of the sound reaching the audience, anyone far enough away has the stage from the stage to need iMag, it will be reasonably in sync. I actually agree with you full-heartedly, Christian, because I've done one frame to one frame, like a direct line, and that is actually generally good enough for iMag. With full NDI, it gets a little dicey when you start adding in vMix and you start adding in other things that are causing latency. But in general, yeah, I agree with you. Very technical yet pretty good place to learn about how NDI works is to get the SDK. The documentation there is actually pretty good. Also, I would agree with you. The SDK documentation, if you're so inclined, is a great place, and you can get that. Do I have a banner for this? Same place you can get the toolkit, but just go to ndi.tv/SDK, and that would be a good place to find out more about that. The documentation is quite good. I would agree. And hats off to New Tech, because they could have not done very good with the documentation, and that would be super annoying for everybody, but they've done a good job. So BirdDog needs to work on educating how to use their products with detailed videos covering them one at a time. That's coming. That's one of my goals. Every feature inside of every device. And the goal of that is for me not to say, it's just like this other camera, so we're going to bypass. No, I'm not doing that. Every feature, every button, everything. Cover it all. I agree with you. That is my intention, and I hope that will bring you. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube if you like that idea. NDI is basically always frame synced by the receiving device. Basically. Play equals ARM. Flex is FPGA. FPGA is going to be the lowest latency. ARM is going to be the cheaper option. Agreed. Thank you, Michael. That was a great I failed at being that concise. So thank you. Thank you. And Jeremy appreciates that as well. Can you show us the audio routing, the vMix audio routing for your setup? Honestly, it's not very sophisticated at all. I bring in, there's even not really much to show. Oh, I'm like sitting low in this frame. That's weird. I'm going to change that. I bring in the audio source as audio. So I have a Behringer Euphoria UMC 404 HD interface, and that device converts. It has four channels. But inside the computer, it brings them in as channels 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you have 2 inputs via USB. And so I add an input audio input device, and I add channels 1 and 2 as an audio in. I can also add 3 and 4 independently. And then on the audio interface, you can set the gain levels and what have you as you wish. And then inside vMix on the audio mixer, it just shows it as a device. Channels 1 and 2 are a device, and 3 and 4 are a device. If anybody remembers the good old days, we used to have a VLC playlist running in the background with some music. Remember that? That was fun. That actually still exists. And now that I'm using vMix, I can bring that audio interface in via VLC and NDI, but I don't use it because I like to chop up these shows for highlight reels and whatever, and that gets kind of distracting, especially when you're trying to do like intro videos. But anyways, I have that option to bring that music in again and use it that way. So that is also an audio option, but my primary audio input is audio in 1 and 2 from the Behringer device, and then that brings it in via USB, and I can manipulate a left and right channel if I want, or I can bring in 4 microphones if I want. One of these days, probably in a year, we're going to. This says I have slow internet. How is that possible? I'm hardlined in. Oh, geez. Sorry if it's jacking up, folks. I don't know what to tell you. So the one of these days, I'm going to create another seat in this studio where I can have an interview and have 2 cameras that actually, go back and forth between the 2 of us, and I can do a live interview here in the studio as well as bring people in virtually. And so I'm going to use that. Obviously, this interface will be able to handle that, no problem. But it's a very basic. It's just add audio input inside vMix, and then that goes to the master output on vMix, and that's what you're hearing. So that is how that is done. That's how you can do broadcast, John. Handle audio separately and marry them when you need. I agree. I feel like that is standard practice, but you can't say that to guys who have been doing this for a really long time, because how they do it and how they achieve their show is totally up to them. And that's one of those really dangerous things about getting involved in the NDI industry, is because as a support guy, it's like, well, this is how it's supposed to be used. And people flip their lid. What do you mean that's how I'm supposed to use it? It's like people got really upset, for example, when I told them you don't have to use the little gray remote that comes with the camera anymore. So one time I was talking to a client and I said, well, the great thing now is that little gray remote, you don't need to find a battery, and you don't need to use it, because we put all of those controls on the web UI. Everything can just be done on the web UI now. Man, I got a response from somebody who's so upset that I suggested that he not use the remote control to control his camera, and that he could just do it all on the web UI. Because what do you mean I shouldn't use it? You ship this thing to me. I should be able to use it. No problem. No questions asked. You shouldn't tell your customers not to use things that come in the box. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. All I meant was, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to go to Radio Shack and buy an obscure battery that goes into this thing, because they don't ship with batteries, right? Because we can't ship lithium batteries across the world, so they don't come with batteries. So now you don't have to find one. You don't have to use that thing. Just, you can do everything on the web UI, one place, one stop shop. Everything can be manipulated on one site. Man, he got mad, so mad about the fact that, how dare you tell me not to use the remote control? I was like, anyways, so I suggest there's alternative ways of controlling your cameras. There are alternative ways of producing your show. How I like to do it is have full value all the way back to you absolutely have to change it, and then you make the adjustments there. So I like to make them right at the very end point, but that's just me. I'm a weirdo. I totally get it. It may not be how everybody else should do it, but Jeremy seems to agree with me. So in an event that we may need to connect a couple of cameras over SDI HDMI with a few NDI cameras, will few frames delay in NDI cause any trouble while switching between sources and program out? No, but you may find, honestly, you're probably not going to notice. The trained eye might notice, but you probably are not going to notice. Your audience is probably not going to notice. You might, because you're nitpicking, the everything in the switcher. But if you come in over SDI and HDMI, the difference probably won't be so significant that it's going to be a distraction to your audience. Now, if you were doing SDI to HX, yes, there'll be a noticeable delay there, especially HX1. But with full NDI cameras and SDI cameras, you probably be all right. Actually, the difference will be glass to board. That will be the delay. That will be the telltale sign of if things are off. But I actually use that design in the weekend show that I do at a congregation, and we have a varying degree of stuff, and it's not a problem. BirdDog could improve the product descriptions by including diagrams or descriptions of how the infrastructure should look. Well, see, here's the thing with that is people get really upset when you tell them how they should do it. They believe they know best, and so they don't want to be told how it should be done. And so we get in some hot water. It's really odd because in this instance, you may appreciate how should this product be used. But in other instances, people get really upset that the way they've done it for 30 years is not the way that we think that they should do it, and they get quite offended. We get comments where it's like, I'm never using this product. You should adhere to standards that we've been using for 30 years. It's like, okay, calm down. Everybody calm down. I don't mean to use my mocky voice, but it seems like NDI is a market that is open for it. It enables you to do an unbelievable amount of things. But if you're not willing to think differently about how you could transport that video across, it's really difficult then for us to talk about NDI because it's going to require you to think differently. We're not an Apple product, but think different. Maybe that's why Apple said that, because they were getting a lot of pushback about like, that's not the cultural norms. They're like, yeah, you should think different. I totally get that. I don't know what you're clapping about, Jeremy, but I appreciate it. Thanks, man. See the guy that left missed all of this good NDI knowledge. Yeah, see, because I was a little munchy and he got really offended, but there's a lot of good stuff here to talk about. Maybe he's still here. I don't know. These chips are good. I recommend them. It's like a mildly spicier Dorito, but they have a stronger corn taste. And Celsius orange is the way to wash it down. My BirdDog employees get straight A's today for snacks on stream. Really appreciate that, guys. Well done. Go Evan. Appreciate you, man. I like having you here. So what is NDI groups in the web UI setup of cams? Should I just put all the P200 cameras in a group because I leave it off? If you don't know what NDI groups is, leave it off. I think that there is a video on the knowledge database that talks about groups, but this will also be a part of the education piece that I'm working on. And so I'm really glad you said that. NDI groups, essentially, think of it like a classroom or like a school. Let's do it that way. Trying to work this analogy. Let me know if this makes sense. You have a school and you have a bunch of classrooms, and in each of the classrooms, you got different grades, right? Well, you don't want all the students hearing all of the lessons from all of the teachers. And so we put them inside rooms and we shut the doors. And then the teacher can teach the course content for that grade level. So we got grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Inside those classrooms, there's course content, and those students need to hear and understand what the teacher is trying to share. But that content is different than what's in, let's say, the grade 2 classroom. And that teacher is teaching course content to those students, different group of students. Well, groups is you're taking those NDI devices and you're putting them in a room, essentially, and they cannot talk to the other rooms in the NDI network. It's a soft way of doing VLANs, essentially. The nice thing with NDI groups is you can add anybody to any group. And so if we wanted, for example, to have 3 cameras and a vMix machine inside classroom 1 and the same inside classroom 2, but you want vMix to only interact with those 3 cameras inside that room, we put them all in the same group, and then that's all those NDI devices know and can see. We put them inside, let's say, classroom 1, classroom 2, classroom 3. These 3 cameras and vMix computer are inside classroom 1. 3 cameras and vMix are inside classroom 2. And these 3 cameras and a vMix computer are inside classroom 3. You group each of those inside each of those classroom names, and then only those devices can interact with each other. But going one step further, you could take vMix inside classroom 2 and add it to the group for classroom 1. And now vMix classroom 2 computer can see everything that's going on inside classroom 1, but not necessarily anybody else. So you can kind of isolate and customize how you want those individual networks to work. But if you only have one NDI network and you only have one room, groups doesn't really make any sense. You want to be able to see and discover all of those devices on your NDI network with any NDI device. Groups is a way to kind of isolate it. So even if I come along with my laptop and I plug into your network, your NDI network, and you're running groups, I won't be able to see anything because I'm not a part of any of those groups. So it's a little bit of security. It's a little bit of isolation. It's a little bit of a way to keep things tidy, but it's not a VLAN. Here's the issue with VLANs and subnets. VLANs are literal like bunkers. Okay. They're like compounds. You're not getting into those. And so if I put my NDI networks on different VLANs, there's no way unless you violate you violate networking protocol that those VLANs are going to talk to each other. That's the point. VLANs are a way of setting up basically a silo where nothing will ever talk to that VLAN on the network. There's no way to get through. And again, there are exceptions to all rules, but it's a violation of network protocol to cross VLANs. So VLAN 1 should not be able to talk to VLAN 10. That's the purpose of them. Now, subnets are another way of doing it from a networking side. However, there are basic NDI subnet rules where it states, and NewTek states this, by the way, single subnet 22255. Okay. So you shouldn't be running a different protocol other than 22255. You could be running separate NDI networks that are all isolated on their own subnet, but groups is easier. So it's just a little cleaner, and groups basically replaces the need to cross subnets, which gets really difficult. Like it gets kind of ridiculous. So single flat NDI network using NDI groups keeps it very versatile, but it also keeps it isolated and controllable. Wow, that was probably way more than you wanted to know. NewTek University? I'm hearing about it for the first time. This is what I criticize about NDI compared to Dante courses and their deep informational videos. I'll look into it. Thanks. Hey, and stay tuned to this channel. Do me a favor. All right. Subscribe to birddogjohn.tv. More on that soon. I'm so excited. So excited. This is that energy that Senseless hates. I know at packet level what's going on and how to troubleshoot these issues. Nice. Well, then, you are probably in the 10% of NDI users. Thumbs up for product educational videos. Excellent. All right. I'm glad you're excited. I'm amped up too. You said something icky with the audio interface. Oh, Behringer? Is that what I said? I know it's not everybody's favorite, but it was a budget purchase. So there you go. Hey, in a Unify switch, is QoS called Smart Queues? I don't know. I know that there's something called Deep Packet Inspection, DPI. Make sure that's off, but I think you have to intentionally turn that on. But I don't know. Smart Queues? That sounds familiar. I don't know, man. I'll have to check that out. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the heck is going on? It's a rare show. It's also 12:30, so you guys are getting more than the price of admission. You didn't know you were getting into this today. Like folks who insist on using static IP is the best. It betrays shaky appreciation of network design and management. See, here's the thing. I know not everybody's like me, but there is a beautiful thing that happens when you have an elegant network. And this was me at NAB this year because I designed the network and I was really proud of it. And like, it worked really well and everybody was happy that it worked really well. And I took that as a compliment, an unsaid compliment, because it just worked really well. But good golly, if you can appreciate a well-designed network that's fast, that's responsive, that's sophisticated, that handles things appropriately, it's a beautiful thing. And only the few of us nerds are really going to like that. But I think I'm in good company with Michael to appreciate good network design and management. I would agree with you full-heartedly that static is just, it's just so, it's like level 1, you know. There's so much more that you can do than just a static network. People, I just need to be easy. It's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Static is not easy compared to having a beautiful network design. It doesn't even compare, you know. It's like seeing a beautiful car and seeing like a standard, you know, economy Or it's like renting a beautiful car and renting a standard economy car. One of them you're like, oh, this is nice. And the other one you're like, yeah, it's a rental. You know? No use mocking voice because stuff moves on. We don't write. It's true. Stuff does move on. That's a great that's a good way to think about it. Suppose I put the P200 cameras in the same VLAN as a Unify 8 and create NDI groups. Does that conflict with the VLAN protocol? No. The VLAN, you're not going to ever communicate outside of your VLAN. If you set up a VLAN, and actually, so here's the thing is, if you have a data network, you need to set up an NDI VLAN. But the data network then cannot talk to the VLAN NDI network. Okay, so you have two VLANs, they don't talk to each other. That's actually a great way to protect your NDI data traffic flow. And you can even prioritize, in some sophisticated networks, you can prioritize one VLAN over another. And so in this instance, you would prioritize your NDI high performance video network over the data network, because it doesn't matter if like the data file transfers happen in 5 seconds or 10, but it does matter if the VLAN NDI network is not operating optimally. So you can prioritize VLANs in some switches, and I don't know if Unify lets you do that, but it's a great way to at least think about it. And then you could use groups if you want to isolate then the NDI devices to only communicate with certain NDI devices. Yeah, you could use groups to do that. Can individual ports on the quad be assigned to separate groups? So for example, I want people in other rooms to see NDI sources coming from port 1, but not the other 3. I don't think so. I don't think that's possible. But I will find out for you, NetHab. If you come back, I will find out for you. I don't think so. I think you can just only group the device. But that's very interesting. I'm not going to add more to the quad wish list right now. That list is really long, but that's a great idea. I wonder if you could do it locally, though. If you could retransmit in Central and do it that way. Anyways, you missed the question on BirdDog Play and NDI from Henry. I did? I thought I answered it. Hang on, Henry. Back. NetHab, yada, yada. Oh, no, I answered that question. Or actually, I talked for about 5 minutes on that one. So scrub back after the show, because I do talk about Play, what it's for, you know, the differences between Flex out and Play, for example. Hopefully that's what Henry was asking for. If not, please re-ask the question, Henry, because I want to be sure that I cover things for you. NDI groups is like those conference rooms and ballrooms where you can open and close the walls to combine or separate. Oh, NetHab, that's a great analogy. Good for you. That's a great analogy. Yes, it's like those conference rooms that you can open the walls and combine or separate. Absolutely. Good call. Routers change things. You can route between VLANs and subnets. Yes, you can. But like you're getting far beyond the TCP implementations. Router, yeah, sure, okay. But at a network base level, I would still say it's a violation. Why set up a VLAN? Why set up separate VLANs if you can do groups and a single VLAN for all your NDI stuff? It doesn't. It's like maybe there's a case for it. I don't know. It just seems like overkill for what it could be. So when you were explaining subnets and VLANs, I feel like I didn't see Henry post anything else. I don't see him. I didn't see Henry post anything beyond that one. Hey, thanks for this, John. I'm excited for what you're doing. Oh, I appreciate that, Jeremy. Thank you. You will take my DHCP out of my cold, dead hands. Me too, man. Me too. Gosh, me too. How do you integrate comments on your live show? That is actually done through StreamYard. So all of my sources, all my destinations, I have like 8 destinations for the show, and it takes the comments from those and it puts them into basically a column on one of the sides of the web UI that I'm using for StreamYard. And then I can click on those comments and bring them on screen. It's actually probably the best feature that StreamYard offers is to be able to do that. I'm never coming back. Well, that's unfortunate, man. I've enjoyed your company, so I don't know what I said to offend you, but there you go. But yeah, you can integrate comments by just clicking on the comment. It throws it up on the bottom of the screen. It does pose a bit of a problem when I put my little picture in the bottom corner and I like share my monitor, and then I put a comment up, puts it right over my face. But hey, it's not a perfect world, and I'm still figuring it out, much like all of us are, right? You're never an expert. You've never arrived. You're always learning. You're always evolving. And so that is definitely what is going on here. All right. Well, I have actually made it to the end of the comment section, which, guys, fantastic today. Thank you. Yeah, I'm real sad that that one gentleman who was mad that I was eating on stream, that he didn't stick around, because this is probably the most NDI chat we've had in a very long time. So what a great show. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you. And thanks for sticking with me on this one. However, it's 1:45. all long in the show. The shows that we end up covering, like the most interesting stuff, I find always go 2 hours. So, and you know, it's from viewers like you. I really need to get like the more you know sound and play that, because that was that could be useful for this show. If I never leave, I don't ever have to come back. It's true. Just stay forever, NetHab. I'd be all about that, man. NetHab has found a loophole. Are we blowing your mind? That's good stuff. I'm glad you come here and like find something valuable. It's always good to have you on here. So when you talk about VLANs and subnets, well, maybe that's something that I need to cover then in the educational stuff. And your lighting has improved. Oh, thanks. Yes, I agree. My lighting has improved over the ages. It's amazing what a few RGB purchases can help with. But yes, I agree. I really like my setup. And you know, there's also this little guy that I like that. I can change that color to whatever I want, but I got blue up here over my head, and then I've got green over here on the desk, and then this light is kind of a cross between blue and green, so I feel like it brings a little harmony to the studio. So I like that a lot. So I have to spend some time learning more about networks to use NDI efficiently. Yeah, and it will pay in spades. I don't know if that phrase translates, but that it will definitely benefit you. I can't emphasize enough, if you want to learn about networks just in general, I really recommend you find a course on Network Plus. There are lots of like, get you ready for the Network Plus certification. You don't have to get certified, but just take it at your own pace. Go for 30 minutes a day and just go through the Network Plus course. There's actually a really good course on udemy.com by a guy on Network Plus. He wears a cowboy hat, and so if you can see past that, he's actually great. He's a bigger guy. He reminds me of Colonel Sanders, the KFC mascot, but he does a great job of talking about networks from start to finish. And so if you want to know deep knowledge, don't do the sinking Cisco training. That's for Cisco specific stuff, and it gets kind of long in the tooth. But take a Network Plus course. You don't have to get certified. Just take a course. I promise you will. I learn stuff every time I rewatch that. I have a subscription to his course. It's a great little course. Network Plus, udemy.com, udemy.com, and look up Network Plus certification. And he's leaning on a table. He's wearing a cowboy hat. Check that out. And that course regularly goes on sale, so you can get it for like $10 or $15 or something like that. Seriously, take that course at your leisure, and go right from the beginning. Learn all the basic stuff. He does some history on like where we've gone, where we were, and where we are, and it gives you a great appreciation. It's a great course, and it's really worth your time to cover that. So I don't get any royalties for suggesting that. I've taken that one. I think it's great. It's a great refresher. If you're good with networks, you want to learn more, check that out. That's a good place to go. No more disembodied head. Yeah, so I did a shoulder and a hair light, right? But the color hits my shoulders now, so it's you actually see my sweater, which is nice. And I feel like that's more appropriate. I'm not like just a neck and a head floating around on the screen behind a microphone. Today's lighting was good at main camera, but the PF120 is like a blue sky. Yeah, and that shot is purely just to have a totally different. I mean, it's just all blue, but it's all good. I don't mind. I think it's a fun little side shot, and it's more than just your standard. This is like the fourth shot. This is a P400, and it shows that light blue wall, and then you can see the blue on my hat and tops of my screens, whatever. But this is the main shot, and I like this coloration a lot. I really am enjoying that. So can you share the networking course link? Yes, I will look that up for you. When is BirdDog Play going to hit the streets? Well, that is a fantastic question. It is in manufacturing, and the final firmware is in alpha testing. Let's put it that way. I can't give you a day because I'm not a sales guy, and I'm also not an engineer. And so if I say something, there's no weight to that at all. But I will say that they are in final testing for the actual software. And so it is really close in terms of being ready. It's just, I wouldn't quote out any imminent projects with it yet, but we're super excited about it. And I know that I have seen it functioning. So I was in Melbourne in August, and I saw it functioning on multiple screens, 9 screens I saw it functioning on, and working very well. So they were ironing out a couple of things, but it is very, very, very close. And so I'm excited to share that. Let's go over to Udemy Network Plus. It's the CompTIA Network Plus course. Oh, that's cool. He's like teamed up with somebody. This is the one that I took. Throw this in the chat. Yoink. Hopefully you can click on this. Boom, 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 boom. That is the CompTIA course that I think is worth your time. So good stuff. Hey, how was your root canal? I hope it went well. The root canal was unexpected on Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. He was like, still giving you trouble? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, root canal. It's like, dang it. Anyways, it is a lot better. No longer I can chew again. No shooting pain. He took the nerve out of the tooth, and now we're good to go. Is BTC keyboard working with the PF120? Well, it works with my PF120. That is confirmed. So yes, the latest LTS for both the keyboard and the camera is working. I did that on Tuesday. I controlled that camera immediately. They were both on the latest firmware. Actually, it was a demo keyboard. So my guy that manages the demo stock is really good about keeping all that stuff up to date. But yes, the PF120 and the keyboard should work. I was able to control the zoom and the focus. I don't like changing all my manual settings on keyboard. I like to set it and forget it. But this is a studio, so the lighting doesn't change from shoot to shoot. But yes, the keyboard should definitely be going. Any questions about BirdDog Play hitting the market with Silicone 2 are fantastic questions, but no fantastic answers. So the market, Silicone 2 is a separate project, okay? So I know that all of our marketing, like you saw the 240 video at the beginning of the show if you were with us, and that marketing shows Silicone 2, and it shows all the protocols that they're hoping to integrate. Well, when Silicone 2 launches, those will be available. And that's why Silicone 2 is on the screen, because Silicone 2 has to launch first before those protocols are available. So everybody, Silicone 2 is a separate project than Play is a project, or Pod is a project, and so on and so forth. Cameras, they're like NDI 5. That's a different project than Silicone 2. So I don't know what's going to launch with Play, honestly. I don't know if Silicone 2 is launching alongside it, or if it's going to launch independently and then Silicone 2 will come after. I don't know. But anyways, There you go. Hey, thanks for the link. I will finish the course before your Tuesday live, and then you'll see me with network graduation degree. I think it's like, I forget how many hours. It's 40 hours or something like that. If you do that, that would be impressive. But yeah. But the nice thing with Udemy is there are always discounts. Like they're constant discounts. And so if you miss it one time and it goes back to full price, which is like $85. If it goes back here in the US, if it goes back to full price, just wait. And there'll always be a sale. And then it's like, here, it's $15 right now. So that's great. Seriously worth your time. If you don't know much about networks, you want a good general knowledge, I promise you, Network Plus course is your friend. Fingers crossed for BirdDog Play and Silicone 2 updates. I agree. I can't wait for all that stuff to hit the market. Play is going to be great because it's so inexpensive. It's just going to go everywhere. I mean, I think we're just going to have thousands and thousands of those products. But I'm really excited about that. All right, folks, it's 8 minutes to 1. And so I need to get to some of these team messages that are flooding my devices because normally I'm done around now. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. All the awesome questions. This was a great chat. And I'm really thankful that you guys have given me some good ideas for the education stuff. Remember that if you have questions for BirdDog and specifically about products you own, be sure that you hit us up at help@birddog.tv. That will open a ticket. My team, I got an awesome team, and we're growing again. We've just sent employment offers to a couple of people, and so that team is growing, and we're going to get faster and hopefully a little bit more responsive, even though Senseless, who is the primary agent in that desk, man, that dude knows how to burn through some tickets. So hit us up there if you want to make a ticket, a support ticket, help@birddog.tv, and we will definitely try and get back to you as quick as we possibly can. There are a lot of requests that come in, but we'll try and get back to you as quick as we can. If the question can wait, please come back on Tuesday. Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern time. I plan to be back with you to do more QA, maybe try something else to eat. I highly approve today's snacks. They were great. And this Celsius drink, that was also quite good. So I'm very happy and very pleased with those. But of course, if you have support questions, hit us up at the help desk between now and next Tuesday at 11 Eastern time here in the US. If you have questions about the product line and you haven't purchased the thing yet, but you have questions about, can this do this? Is this the right application for this product? Our sales team is at this address, hello@birddog.tv. And those guys are fielding questions from folks all the time about, here's my dream, help me achieve my dream. These guys can help you walk through that process. And you guys know BirdDog Jake, CJ, Ian, Monty from this show, Robert's been on the show. These are all excellent guys that can give you a hand here in the US. And if you're elsewhere, BirdDog Phil is over there. If you're over in the APAC region, there's a guy named Jason. He's there and he's really active in there. I like Jason a lot. He is such a cool dude and very personable. So wherever you are, we got somebody. All right, we got you. If you got questions about the product line, you want to learn more about the products, hit these guys up at hello@birddog.tv. They're awesome at what they do. They're really great guys, and they'd be happy to give you a hand with some of that stuff. In the meantime, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you're looking forward to having hopefully a couple of days off or whatever it is that you're up to. You have a chance to have a little chance to breathe and relax. Yes, have a blessed week. Go Web. It's always good to have you around. We really appreciate your support of the BirdDog support team. We're trying really hard, and we're hoping that this session that we do twice a week for at least an hour is beneficial. If you have your questions, please bring them over here, and we can help you with that. Take care of yourselves out there, folks. Be good to one another. Be kind, and we'll see you on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Take care. Bye.
3, 2, 1.
Resistance is futile.